In today's video, we will see how you can add a minimap to your game. There are already some tutorials about this on YouTube, but they are outdated or don't show all possibilities. So let's start. Let's first create a nice border for our map. I'm going to draw a circle. Something like this. Now let's make it a bit more nice. Change the color. Oh, okay, I think this looks nice. So let's save this as map border. And now let's create a new layer, and on this layer we will draw another circle, but this time it will be not the edges but the circle itself. Let's choose another color, and this should cover all of the border, something like this, and this will be our mask. So we set it to a white color, and in the game it will going to look a little bit like this, and this mask is used to identify the area where our map will be drawn to. So now we can select the background layer and remove all of this and save this as a PNG, but this time call it map mask. Now in Unity we have these two new images. We will convert them into sprites. So we now have transparency on them. And now I'm going to the main canvas. And I will add a new section to the panel info and call it map. And to this section I will add an image. The map border, and also another image for the mask. And we will also add a component, the mask component, to this game object. And now we are let's rename this a bit. Also make sure that you render the border after the mask, because the border should be on top of the mask. We have to resize and position it, of course. So this is just the area for the map, and let's select both the mask and the border, and now we can resize them. I think something like this will look nice. We have 512 pixels, so we can make it quite big. Okay, so now we have our mask and border in the right position, but we don't have something to render the map to. So I create a child over here, and this will be a raw image. It has to be a raw image because we will put a texture over here. And what we will put there will be a render texture. So creating a new render texture, let's call it RT map. And now we set the texture of this raw image to that render texture. But this render texture doesn't contain anything yet. We need to build up this texture, and we can do that by using a camera. We can create a special camera that records where the player is, and we will display that on that area. So what we need to do is copy the camera. I'm using Cinemachine, so you need to make sure that you create a copy of both the Cinemachine brain and virtual cameras. So I'm going to call this map camera, and we will set some properties differently, but first let's create a camera on the player, a virtual camera. I've created this object over here, map, and inside this map I will create a camera. So Cinemachine camera, let's call this map camera. And now let's take a look at this camera in the scene. Over here we have our player. What we want to have is something like this, and display like this area on the minimap. So in order to do that, we are changing the position of the camera to the player only a bit higher. Let's say over here somewhere. And also the angle should be facing down like this. You can see the area that has that is covered by the camera, but this is a perspective view, and what we actually want to have is an orthographic view, but that we can change later. Let's first just see if we can configure this. We need to have a separate output channel. You can use different channels on the cameras. Let's select channel 2. So this map camera will only output to channel 2. And then over here we will also have the Cinemachine brain use this channel 2 instead of the default. So we will still use the default for the main camera. We could set that to channel 1, but I think it's alright to keep that as a default. If we now set the target texture of the map camera to the render texture, the output of the camera will be rendered to the texture, which will be displayed on the canvas. So now the map is already working. You can see it's rotating. but there are a few issues. First of all, my controls got messed up. The reason for that is that I'm using the third-person controller script from the starter assets, and it contains this code. It tries to find an object with the tag main camera, but I now have copied this camera, so I should remove this tag, and now the controls will work again. Another thing is that if you take a look at the map camera, you can see that that uses perspective, and this part is closer to the camera than this part. So this part is a little bit like magnified compared to this. You don't want that when you are displaying a map. Everything should have the same scale. So therefore we can set this to orthographic. And also we can change this anti-aliasing to no. This improves performance a little bit, and it makes it less blurry. For the map, I think that's better. So now you can see it looks better. Actually, the minimap is displaying not much, but we can change that by changing the orthographic size. Now we are very close, and we can zoom out, and now you see a decent amount of the map. But you can immediately see another problem. As soon as it gets night, the map becomes very dark, because it just displays the area where the player is walking, but it does it on the same way that it is just displaying the terrain. So at night the minimap becomes dark as well. So we don't want that, so we're gonna change that. I create a map by making screenshots of the terrain, stitching them together and stylizing it a little bit. Note that after this, if you make any changes to the terrain, you will need to update the map as well. When I'm done, I'm saving it as a PNG file. I've turned this PNG map into a sprite, and now I can create a plane. And put the map on it. We're gonna change the material to sprite, so it doesn't get affected by the lighting of the scene. And now we just simply need to scale this one, and to make it fit exactly the real terrain. So we need to make it a lot bigger. So this takes a bit of work. By the way, also make sure you set the size of this texture to a high value. I used about 4000 pixels for the map image, so I use this size. So otherwise you will lose some detail in the map. So now I've placed the map at the right position. You can see over here. But if we now run the game, you see that we can see the map, but it's also displayed in the game itself. And we need to fix that. So what we can easily do is just create a new layer, call it map, and we assign this map plane to the new layer called map. And now in the main camera we will exclude the map from the culling, and also in the map we will just display this map layer and nothing else. Okay, now it's working perfectly. We have the game without displaying this texture, and we have the texture on the minimap, and when it's night we can even see the map. In order to display the position of the player, we can add an icon. It should be on the player so it moves along with the player, and we can use a sprite renderer and draw a white dot on the position of the player. This dot looks like this, and it will just be displayed, but we want to display it only on the map, so we also put it on the layer of the map. This will make it appear on the minimap but not in the actual game. And yeah, that's about it. So let's test it. Yeah, we can now see the white dot in the center. We could also use a fixed dot and draw it over here, but this is better. And also for the position of the other NPCs, we need to use their actual position, because only the player is always centered, but the other NPCs are just walking around over here. So we can change the scale if you like. If you don't like the size of the dot, but
and a guy sitting on it.
Well, that's
I think that this is about right.
I hope he brought sunscreen.
And we can do the same for the NPCs. Actually, I already did that. I want to show you my NPCs over here, and they also have this map icon. It's like a big blue dot, and that's simply a sprite renderer with the same scale and a rotation of 90. So otherwise it would look like this, and it wouldn't even be displayed on the map because it doesn't have the right rotation. And by the way, I also disabled the icon by default, as you could see over here, because if you don't do that, you see that this prefab appears like this, and I don't like that so much. I cannot see what the character it is, so just for that reason I decided to by default disable this part so it's not visible in the editor, and I then set it by script. If we take a look at the NPC spawner, it's finding this map icon and it's making it active as soon as this NPC is spawned in. And we have done the same for the cars. So if we go to the cars, we also have the prefabs over here, and they also have this map icon, but in this case they have a red dot. And of course all this is also set to the map layer. The game also has this large map where you can see the whole map and the position of the player and the direction he is walking to. Because this is a stable map, not rotating, I use a different way to display that. You can see the code over here. We just draw the texture of the map to the screen, to the GUI, and then we translate the position of the player from his world position to the map position, and then at that point we draw a texture which shows that arrow, and to make it face the right direction we rotate the system, and for that we look at the rotation of the camera that's on the player, that third person camera. And after that we can draw some more things on this map, like the mission positions, for example, over here. And actually I have the same technique to draw a minimap, so that's an alternative way to draw the minimap without using that second camera. And then the code looks like this. You can see it's kind of complicated, and this even doesn't have the ability to rotate the whole map. It's just a map that's always facing the same direction, so it's like part of this large map, and also not a circle. You can see it over here, so you can compare the two maps. This is the way with the GUI drawing, and this is the way with the using the camera, which is much easier, and the performance is about the same if you use this technique to render this texture like this, or to use the camera. Over here you can see the final minimap in the game. Thanks for your attention and have a nice day.